Okay, hello. We are back here. For the conclusion of the Athletics and the Orioles. We left off in the top of the sixth with runners at second and third. Now 2 outs. Dylan Bundy came in to try and get them out of a jam, and he got the first out on a ground out. He got Marcus Semien to ground out with the infield in. Jonathan Schoop was able to get that quickly and look the runner back before throwing to first for the out. And so we're going to bring up Yonder Alonso here. So apologies for having a couple games here in a row that are like this, where we sort of have a gap in between. Last night it was our dog's getting older, and it seems as though she's starting to lose her some of her faculties as far as, being able to hold things that most normal things can hold. Dogs, people, but when you get older, things don't always work right, and so that's kind of what's happening. And I don't know how serious the situation was. Turned out it wasn't too bad, but yeah. Anyway, so we're getting back here to this game. Dylan Bundy, he's probably a little sore after throwing one pitch and then having to sit for all this time, but we'll get him back out here to give it a whirl. So Yonder Alonso with 2 outs. And what they could do here is actually, but they have Chris but I'll tell you what, I think they'd rather take their chances with Chris Coughlin, and so they're going to walk Yonder Alonso intentionally to bring up Chris Coughlin, who, and let's see, do the Athletics have any? I don't understand why it's got to be walking around up there, Oh, let's go with Coughlin. It's kind of early to be doing matchup stuff in the 6th inning. So Chris Coughlin. It's a 2 on the D20, and a 1 means potential balk. Well, Bundy does not have a balk rating, so we re-roll Coughlin, and it's a 3-7. It'll be a ground ball to short. They're playing back, and they are out of the inning. So no runs, 2 hits. Leave them loaded. And the other thing about last night's game is that I had been on a pretty decent roll as far as, I was getting through things pretty quickly. So Jonathan Schoop will lead off here at the bottom of the 6th. It is 1-0, Oakland on top. And Schoop hits a grounder to Semien, throws to first. So Triggs, 1, 2, 3. This be his 5th inning of work. That's going to be it. I believe that the absolute most you can do is 2+. The inning of weakness. Adam Jones, I kind of forgot that they were going to go to Fernando Rodriguez. They haven't pinch hit for Triggs yet, though. So 5-12 against a righty. Ground ball to first. Yonder Alonso's 2-5, and he will make the play. So Manny Machado with 2 outs. Boy, they'd love to get him to hit a solo home run and tie this game up here. And that's a 5-9 against a right-hander, and he's got a chance at it here. 1-5, a home run, triple otherwise. And it will be a triple for Manny Machado. He had 1 in 2016. So Chris Davis with a chance to, that's the first hit off of Triggs. So Chris Davis with 2 outs. Can he knock that run home? And a 1-8. No, he does not. He strikes out, and that will be it for Triggs. I promise this time it will be. Good outing from him. 1 hit, 4 2/3 innings. And they will pinch hit for Triggs this time. So, Bundy will come out for a 2nd inning of work since they got him up and everything. Stephen Vogt, 0 for 2. And he is going to single to lead off the 7th inning for the Athletics, who have a 1-0 lead. So they are going to pinch hit here with Billy Butler. They do have Billy Burns, who is a lefty, but they're going to hold on to him for a little while. So Billy Butler, nobody out. Stephen Vogt on first base. And a 3-8. And it's a fly ball to center. And Adam Jones makes the play for the first out. Vogt retreats to first. Danny Valencia. Actually, I should have rolled the D20 on that. All right. For potential wild pitch, pass ball stuff. All right, so Danny Valencia, he is currently 0 for 3, and that is a 5-9 against a righty. And this card pattern does not help a 5-9. 1-14, a home run. 15-20, a double. Could be 3-0 Athletics if this goes long enough, and it does not. It's going to be a double. With 1 out, they're going to hold Vogt, not a fast runner. They were holding him on, too. We're playing where we always hold them. So, again, 2nd and 3rd with 1 out. Let us see here. I think the Orioles may go to it's the 7th. Who's coming up? Crisp is a switch hitter who appears to fare better against maybe right-handers. So they're going to bring in Brad Brock. It's another right-hander, but I'm going to try and nail this down. Keep it close. You don't always see same side pitchers get switched out, but so we got 1, 2, so we got a full inning. Brad Brock. Well, he's going to face Crisp, so they're going to be infield in here, and I'm afraid maybe I had the thing off center. All right, so 2nd and 3rd, infield in, 1 out, Coco Crisp. Against so he's batting from the left side as a switch hitter, a 6'5". And blammo. Brock gets touched up here, 1-7, a home run. Normal power for Crisp, as we saw in the World Series, but that's a 14. That's a double. But that's going to score 2 runs, and it's now 3-0 Athletics. Maybe a little bit of overmanagement here from the Orioles manager. Let's see. Dylan Bundy's 6'5" is a shortstop X. So those are the chances you take. And sometimes you get burned. So now Crisp at second with one out. Josh Reddick at the plate. 1-7. And that's a single with one out. That will remain a single. And Brock gives up 2 quick hits. And just like that, it is 4-0 to the Athletics. Brock a 2.05 ERA. Well, he's a 9 for this game at least, and we haven't even gotten an out yet. Well, he's not even 9. He's an infinity at this point. Chris Davis, Reddick at first, 4-0 lead. He's not going to try to steal him at this point. 15 on the D20, 3-6. And that's long, and Chris Davis just smashes the heck out of that one. That is long gone. Home run. Brad Brock, it is not his day here. And 2-run home run in a 5-run 7th inning for the Athletics, and the Orioles are meeting their demise here. Really rough patch for them. Semien 2-6. That's a ground ball to short. Could have used that instead of Chris Davis's 3-6. Yonder Alonso with 2 outs against a lefty 6-11 ground ball to second, and that'll be that. But they put a 5 spot up there, and all of the Orioles' efforts to keep the game close have gone for naught. And 2 runs credited to Brad Brock, 4 to Dylan Bundy, 3 to Dylan Bundy. Actually, no, I'm wrong. 3 to Brock and 2 to Bundy. Okay. Well, what looked like could be a game that would get out of hand for Oakland, having to go to the bullpen early. Instead, they end up with Andrew Triggs coming in and throwing maybe the relief appearance of his life. Triggs' ERA last year was 4.31, so you would have figured in 4 1/3 innings he'd give up at least 1 run, and he had a good day today. So Rodriguez will come in for the Athletics. Fernando Rodriguez, mind you, not Frankie. Pitched the bottom of the 7th. Now he could go 2 innings here. We'll see. Mark Trumbo, depends on how effective he is. 6-7 against a right-hander. Well, that's a walk. So, glimmer of hope here. Brings up Pedro Alvarez. Baltimore sure could use a couple of lucky rolls here. They haven't really been getting any of them. And a 1-4 against a righty. That's a ground ball to second. You could view that as somewhat lucky. But, wait. Oh. Yeah, sorry. Ground ball C. I was caught between 2 things, and I did neither of them. Where was it? That was second base. 4-3. Put out. 1 out, Matt Wieters. And a 3-7 with the D20 that somehow is leaning in that situation. 3-7. Ground ball to short. Won't move the runner. And Ryan Flaherty. So I guess this is really what Strat can be about here. Bottom of the 7th with a runner in scoring position. Really need to find some other idea here. They're going to use Hyun-Soo Kim to pinch hit here for Ryan Flaherty. he did reach on an error, but 0 for 2, and they just need a little more chance that they get something out of this walk. So here's Kim. Sure could use a 1-column roll here. And they get it, 110, but a 2 on the D20. Oh, my word. Oh, goodness. And it wouldn't have scored the run anyway. It's a single 1-star. And so we look to balk for that, since it's a 2, and then the 1 on the white. And no balk rating for Rodriguez. So Kim got the roll he needed, but got part of the roll. And so here they go, 2 outs. And it's 6-11 against a lefty, and that's a ground ball back to the pitcher X. They need an error. And Rodriguez is an E0, so what they really need now is a very low D20 roll. They get a 3. I don't think that's going to be low enough, though. He is a 4. That might be good enough. We'll see. Yes, it is. That's a single 1-star. So after all that, he does get the single that he so deserved. And it's going to be the pitcher spot, which will obviously, with a runner at 90 feet away, it's going to be someone else. And they will go with... They got to save... They want to save J.J. Hardy for down the stretch here. So it's going to be Joey Rickard. Pinch hitting here in the bottom of the 7th. It's 6-0 Athletics. Runners on at first and third. They'd love to get a big blast from Rickard, but chances of that are pretty slim. 2 outs. It's a 2-9 and another 2 on the D20. 2-9 gets them what they need, and instead they get a 2 on the D20. We already know that a balk is not going to happen, so a re-roll. The D20 is crapping on the Orioles' existence right now, and it's a 4-9 against a righty, which means he strikes out, and the rally is over. Cruel game Strat can be sometimes. So they pinch hit for Brock. Kim is going to come into left field. He got a single, but not enough of one to do it, make any difference. They're going to go to Vance Worley now. Using both of their long relievers. Probably not the greatest idea. They'd love to be in a game one of these days where they can actually use the regular relievers more often. And more of a meaningful situation. That's the word I'm looking for. All right, so Worley comes up against Chris Coughlin. 6-0 Athletics. Every rally that the Orioles have had, which haven't been that many, has come up empty. And I get a leaner one of those days. 4-2 against a lefty, and it's a fly ball to left field, and the catch will be made. 1 out. Stephen Vogt led off that 5-run 7th inning with a single. Against a lefty, a 6-5 ground ball to second. 2 outs. And that brings up the pitcher's spot, which they're going to pinch hit with Tyler Ladendorf. Which means they're going to have to go back to their bullpen, but that's quite all right. Oakland, they're a little thin. They're going to go with John Axford and then Liam Hendricks. Okay, so Vance Worley against Leidendorf, 2 down. 5-2, a couple of 2 rolls here in this batch, and that's a walk. Leidendorf, well, with a 6-0 lead, he's not going to try stealing. He could. Danny Valencia, a big double in that previous inning. 4-7 against a right-hander. Fly ball to center. That'll end the inning. So no runs there. They're going to have to bring in Axford. One could remark that I should have done a double switch with Fernando Rodriguez, given the fact that they ended the inning on... But they ended the inning with Yonder Alonso, which he's still a guy you'd probably like in the game if there's somehow a comeback that is mounted by the Orioles. So... and so isn't Semien. Actually, any of those guys, 4, 5, 6, might be a good reason to stagger your poorer hitters or platoon guys in, like one there, somewhere in that 4, 5, 6. So that way you have an opportunity to pull a double switch if necessary. Plus, sometimes those guys are just better contact hitters and can do some various things. But anyway, so Axford against Scope. 3-4. Scope hit by a pitch, so leadoff runner on. Adam Jones. Orioles not much of a running team. And that's a 3-7, which is a strikeout. With 1 out, it'll be Manny Machado. 2 for 3, but hasn't gotten much help from the rest of his team. 3-5, and that's going to be a ground ball to the pitcher, and that's going to be 2. And that'll be it for the bottom of the 8th. So time running out for the Orioles. Still 6-0 Athletics. The A's will get Ryan Madsen warming in the pen. He hasn't pitched in a couple days, so they're going to try and... you know what? They're going to leave him. They're going to try going with Axford a second inning since if they can just keep one guy from being used up as opposed to giving 2 guys a chance, and then if you have to use Madsen in a save situation the next game, then he's unavailable the following game by my rules. So Coco Crisp against Worley. Second inning of work. 4-10, batting from the left side. There's a ground ball to second, and that'll be 1 out. Josh Reddick, he is 4 for 4. An awesome game from him. 3 singles and a double. Against a lefty, 6-4. Ground ball to third base. If it sneaks by Pedro Alvarez, he may get his 5th hit. He gets an 8. I don't know if that, and there could be an error too. So 5-8. That is a single. 8 single. He gets his 5th hit. Now the 65 and a 16, that's got to be an error, right? That's a 2-base error. So S1, E2, batter to third. He just completely made a meal of that one. E5 and a single, so 5 for 5. And Strat Baseball with the Orioles. Yeah. They're going to be going back to the clubhouse and getting reamed out by their manager. I don't know if it's Buck Showalter or whatever, but so. Well, good. I'm off all week, so next week you won't have those sounds. Chris Davis, infield in. And it's a 20 on the D25, 11 against a right-hander. Fly ball to left field. X. Yeah, your left fielder here is H.S. Kim, Hyun-Soo Kim, 4E3. Probably a fair chance at a hit, and I think that is going to be a hit for Chris Davis. He'll be 3 for 5. 4 and 7 is an SI2, so that will score the run. And then 15 on an E3 and an E2, 2 costly errors. So a double 2, or wait, what did I say? Single 2 and a 2-base error. Batter to third. I guess that's the downside to using guys who are very poor in the field, is that you're eventually going to pay the piper. So, runner still at third. This has been a very odd game, to say the least. 4-8 against a righty. And it's just going to get worse for these Orioles. 1-8. And that's a 6. That's a double for Semien. That's going to score another run. 2 in the inning here. And this hasn't had anything to do with holding anybody on. So, yeah, it's now 8-0. Yonder Alonso, boy, could Worley use something in that 3 column from Alonso. And it's going to keep coming off of his card. I don't know if that's going to help or not. 5-8. It's ground ball to first. Runner will advance, but Chris Davis will be able to take it to the bag. And with 2 outs, maybe a card here that you can take some respite in. Chris Coghlan, if you can get one, and you do get one, 2-6 strikes out. So if you get one off of his card, you might be able to sneak an out of him. But 2 more runs. That's the thing. I think you're... Well, that's cool you're excited about the Home Run Derby Strat Baseball. I am not. I think they've... I don't like baseball's sellout mentality, which is what they always do. It's just... It's so... I mean, it's just so typical they're going to choose a guy like Sanchez, even though he's not the leader in home runs. You know. Video keeps loading. Morning, Tony. I don't know. Maybe it's... I don't know if it's on your end a little bit there, Strat Baseball, or not, but we're going to have Axford finish this out. This should be a quick ending. Chris Davis, 2-6, strikes him out. Yep, he should be, but you know MLB, they've got to pander, just like I think a lot of places that put out stuff and are, you know, they have to pander to the New York audience. 4-10 against a lefty. That's a ground ball to second base. This is going to be game over. Ground ball A. 4-6-3. Coghlan to Semien to Yonder Alonso. Game over. Orioles continue to underwhelm. They have been now shut out for 12 innings straight, and what'd they manage here? 5 hits maybe? 1, 2, 3 hits. 3 measly hits for the Orioles. Off of Kendall Graveman for an inning and a third, then Andrew Triggs, Fernando Rodriguez, and John Axford. They can't muster more than 3 hits. That is super pathetic and deserves Buck Showalter to be fired even in real life. So that's just some of the anger that came from people. It's unfounded anger. It's just me trying to be like Orioles fans when they didn't use Britain in that playoff game. They could have used him and still ended up losing. But, you know, he probably wasn't the wisest choice in the world, but, you know, managers look really smart when their things work, and they look really bad when they don't, so. There we go. What was Buck thinking? Buck was probably thinking, this is a nice salary I'm drawing every couple weeks, and I don't really have to do much. I just sit there and do nothing while my team goes out and hits home runs, and then when they don't hit home runs, I might take a little bit of flack because I don't really do anything, but, you know. Can't be that hard, right? And I get probably paid $5 million a year. I do too. Whatever. I mean, it wasn't a wise decision, but again, where are Trumbo? Where are Davis? Where are Manny, Scope, Jones? Where are these guys to hit? I mean, it's not like Toronto was sending out, you know, Jimmy Key and, you know, all the big dogs from when they were extremely great. They were sending out pretty average guys, and, you know, this is what happens when you have a team of bashers, is that you're going to have games where they just come up empty. And, I mean, you know, I'm frustrated at times with that Phillies replay, and it's the same kind of thing. You know, that's what the way they set it up. They do have a couple of grinders. But, you know, if you know what Jimmy Rollins is like, how he's built, he's a masher. He goes for the home run every swing of the bat. You can just tell. Every once in a while he'll get in his mind, I'm going to slap one. But he is Babe Ruth in, you know, I don't know, Omar Vizquel's body. Maybe a little quicker than Omar. But, you know, he's just a guy that's not going to hit a lot of home runs. I mean, and he still hit like 20. But, again, I think that was part of being at Citizens Bank Park was, you know, you got Jimmy Rollins some home runs in a couple of years when maybe in some other parks he wouldn't have gotten them. But masher teams, they're going to go hot and cold. How much Major League Baseball clubs use Stratomatic tactics? I don't know what you mean by tactics if you're talking about like hit and run. I'd say the Orioles probably use it very, very, very little. Yeah, I think he was left off. He was picked up by Atlanta. He was sent to their, I think it was Gwinnett maybe, is that the AAA team, and then he was released. So he's probably all but retired. I mean, stolen bases. I think the supplementary steal system does a pretty good job of, if you honor it, it does a pretty good job of simulating steals. It gives you the frequency. It gives you the likelihood of somebody actually being able to complete a steal. So in that regard, I don't, you know, the squeezing. Managers are going to squeeze with an E. They're going to squeeze with a pitcher, whether they're A or E. If there's a guy on first, if there's a guy on second, probably two. You know, whereas a strat manager is probably going to say to himself, if he's a D and there's a runner on second, and maybe one out, you might start thinking to yourself, and he's got a pretty decent hitting card, you might actually just say to yourself, okay, I know he's got a good chance of getting a hit. I'm gonna ignore the sacrifice in order to play the odds. You know, managers don't really have odds right in front of them. They have statistics, they have past performance, but there's only a certain amount of past performance that can dictate future, returns or whatever you want to call it. Because guys get better, guys get worse. Prediction, I think it's a very good prediction from the standpoint people replay. Like, I'll give you an example. Tribe fan who comes in here and chats quite often, he just completed an Indians season. Now, granted, it wasn't exact, and you're never going to get exact, but he needed a stretch where the Indians needed to win. I think it was probably 16 out of 25 or something like that to finish out the season to get back to the 60 and whatever win total mark that they got. I forget which year it was, maybe 70. Anyway, he got it, and they went back to 60. And so, same record. I think that was probably a really good feat of management from him to be able to get that. 13-7. Yeah, but it's a pretty accurate game if you're willing to play out 162 games. The problem with this is that you're going to have, so this game here in my simulation is equal to 3. So this is basically 3 Orioles losses in a row. So, but I've been going back and forth as to what happened with when I started this. I really wanted to incorporate player usage. I kind of like the way I did it the first time, which was that I just took the teams as they showed up in the cards, which was the way they finished the season, and just basically made believe that they continued their season with an extra 54 games. I kind of like that theory behind it. I guess I like this too. This just ends up being a little bit more work because you end up, I have to look at a lot of box scores and things like that. Is it just you? I didn't see your previous question. Now I got to bring up the chat window here so I can see what you okay. I don't like MLB The Show because Stratomatic realism for the accuracy and advance compared to a video game. Yeah, that was always the downside for me in video games, was that usually you had to play the game, and as soon as you start playing the game, I think you lose. You either get really good or really bad. And once you get really good, you try to change the settings in order to make it harder, and then you get really bad again, and then you get frustrated, and then you stop playing it. So you never really, like, for me, I never got through a full season where I'm playing at a level that is probably commensurate to what it's like, it's really tough to tweak these games to a place where you're playing right at your level. Usually, like, so let's just take Madden for example, because I've played that a ton. Madden, I'll set it at maybe, I don't know what they call it, advanced, and I'm like, there's a point where I'm going like 15-1 every season, maybe 16-0, and I'm winning every Super Bowl, and I'm just like getting bored. So then I set it up to the next one, which is like All-Star maybe, or something like that, and it's like then I'm losing every game, like 35-10, getting frustrated, I quit playing. And so it's like, okay, well then, number one, I don't ever get any better, but the frustration level comes from the fact you don't really see yourself ever getting any better. If I don't see any improvement, and so you'd think that these games would get smart enough to know that they could tailor themselves in a way that would at least give you a fair shot, but instead, they've got your money, whether they put that in there or not. And they know that they'll get next year's unless you just decide, as some people have. I think Tony was the one who said, you don't buy it anymore. But the cards and dice, you feel like you have the game at your fingertips. And you literally do. You see the engine at work. You can very easily understand the engine. Well, not very easily. You can pretty easily at least get what is a quick glimpse into what the engine would be, and you can adapt your. It's easy to adapt your playing style based on what you see in front of you. In a video game, all you're seeing is how many times do you feel like, oh, well, the AI is just screwing me over? I go in, I've got the old, deke move on NHL, whatever, down, boom, boom, boom. I'm like scoring 8 goals in a row, and guess what? Now he's got 9. It's like, okay, well, I guess this is the one that the computer says he's got to lose, and that just gets frustrating. And again, it's like kind of on the other side of things where that just isn't realistic to me. That makes me feel like I've ginned up, I've gamed the system, and now the system has to be gamed in order to defeat me, and there goes any semblance of reality. So the way this is set up, you're going to get realistic results just about every time. I mean, I will say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I mean, 14 hits off the Orioles. That's a big day for the Oakland Athletics. I'd have it. I guess they probably had some 14 hit outputs. But yeah, that's quite a game. So I don't think there were. Oh, there was one injury. Graveman. One game. Didn't write it down. That was a mistake. But that'll only be one game, so not a big deal for him. He won't even miss a start. So, all right, I'm going to take off here. 8-0. The Athletics win. Athletics moved to 7-4. As you can see, short season, short sample size. They're going to go down one of these days. Maybe they'll have to start facing teams that aren't so streaky. And the Orioles are a streaky team, so someone's going to get these Orioles, and the Orioles are going to go off on like a 50-run output for 3 games. And when that happens, look out, whoever you are. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day. Strat on, and see you later.